Our mission is to empower you to use your knowledge and intuition to create a portfolio that works for you, to build the confidence you need to navigate the crypto market, and to feel secure when you're ready to invest into the new financial system. We care. Our investments, we take them personally. We will never present a coin or a project to you that we have not invested in ourselves or done the extensive research we feel is required. At Vibra, we are a team that will take you step by step through the cryptocurrency market with confidence. Being a client of Vibra allows you exclusive access to our community in our private Discord server where you can chat with our consultants. They are ready, willing, and able to help you with any of your problems. These services are a rich resource for those of you that are looking for a place to start that they can trust. Becoming a client of Vibra starts with welcoming you to share your long and short-term goals with us by scheduling a complimentary 15-minute chat via phone or Zoom. We look forward to getting to know more about you and how we can best assess your individual asset portfolio and financial goals. We provide solutions on how to self-custody your crypto as well as how to gain exposure without directly owning crypto. Ultimately, this leads us to maintaining a long-standing relationship based on trust. We are committed to empowering and educating crypto investors on how to take and make decisions and maximize returns. We provide value with extensive market knowledge, active portfolio management, and our industry associates so you can reach your financial goals. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Thank you so much for joining us today here at Vibra Livestream. Today, we have a very special guest, Melyssa from Immutable Holdings. Their CFO is here to talk about accounting and crypto, and I can't wait for you to hear her story because I get to hear it too. So let's bring her on. Please give a very warm welcome to Melyssa. Hi, Melyssa.
Hi, Lindsay. Thanks a lot for having me on today. Super excited to be here and looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. I am so excited to hear more about your story and how you got into crypto. So without further ado, can you please tell us how you got into DeFi?
Yeah, for sure. So my story is a little bit more unusual just in the route that I took to get where I am today. So my background is primarily accounting and auditing, actually. So my career started out in public practice, which is, for example, like you'd have like a big firm, like a KPMG type firm that would come in and audit financial statements for publicly traded companies. So my career, the first 7 years of that was spent in public practice and really just learning the accounting side of things. And I was introduced to crypto and blockchain through the firm that I was working at. It was a local firm here in Vancouver, British Columbia. And we took on a crypto client that was trying to get a public listing in Canada. They were based in New York, and this was about 2018. And so we really just had to dive in, learn about the industry, learn about all the ins and outs of what really happens with the company. And at the time, like Bitcoin, blockchain, everything. So just diving in from that side on the more technical accounting side, I really got interested in the space. I could see what was happening, and it was really exciting. So that was really just the start of my interest in the space, and just took off from there.
That's really exciting. And I want to touch base on that with you later. We had briefly in an email, you had teased me with setting up internal environmental controls to take accountability and for like accounting with your crypto. And I want to dive into that more later. But the space that you're in now, How did you find yourself with Immutable Holdings?
Yeah, so it's actually a little bit of a funny story there. We kind of found each other by accident, I would almost say. I work at a small firm up here in Canada, and in August of 2021, it was like 4 p.m. on a Thursday, the day before I was about to go on vacation. And I get this phone call from some lawyers that we had a connection with through the firm that I worked at. And they urgently needed assistance with preparing a financial report for their public listing, the reverse takeover listing that was being filed the very next day. And no one really knew how to prepare this report. And so they had called asking if I would help. I'd never heard of this company before, never heard of the people involved in it. And I was a little bit put off because I was so excited to go on my vacation, and I was thinking, oh, I just don't know if I can help you guys. They're like, no, please, like we really need help with this. So I was like, okay, sure, I guess I'll help you. So it took about 12 hours. So it started at 4 p.m., finished off at 4 a.m. They had their team on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast over here. Available to me throughout the whole time. So they pulled an all-nighter all the way to 7 a.m. their time, both legal counsel and the team, so that they could be available to answer questions. So worked all night, and I got up and I was like, oh, why did I agree to do that? I was pretty upset at the time, but yeah, so that was my first introduction to the team. But we got the work done, and everything got filed, and the reverse takeover transaction went through. So that was kind of the first introduction to the team. And then after that, they were like, oh, we really want you to come work for us. Like, we really appreciate the work ethic and like the hard work you put in here. And we can see that you're quite capable and understand the environment that we're in from an accounting perspective, but also just regulatory Canadian side of things. So then they kind of actively pursued me for about a month, and I kind of put them off, to be honest. I wasn't really sure. It's hard. There's a lot of startup tech companies in Vancouver, and when you hear about their visions, it's really exciting, but sometimes it's hard to see them come to fruition. So at first I was kind of like, yeah, just another startup crypto, like, you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. But as I learned more about the team and the company, I got super excited about it and decided to dive right in.
Yeah, being able to see that work ethic from a business standpoint, from the other side, from the inside, that is the place to be. So what about their team, other than that meeting? Because you're getting to meet these new teams in these tech startups that are so gung-ho, when you have that much passion and drive. Like, how did you know that Immutable Holdings had that special sauce, we'll say? Like, how did you know that they had that special something to them that wouldn't just fizzle out and pop off like we usually see?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it kind of happened over time, to be honest. We had a few meetings, and then the team was actually flying up from the States and Puerto Rico to Toronto. And they had emailed me like 3 days ahead, being like, we're going to be in Toronto. Like, do you want to meet up? And I was like, well, like, I live in Vancouver, right? It's on the West Coast. That's on the East Coast. It's not like something that can just easily be done. Like, no, we know, like, get on a plane and meet us here. And I was thinking, oh, okay, sure. Like, I actually worked perfectly with my schedule. So I was like, you know what do I have to lose? Like, I'm just going to take this chance. I don't really know who these people are, but I'm going to get on a plane, fly across the country and meet them and see what they have to say. So I called my sister actually, and I was like, hey, you want to come to Toronto on Wednesday? Just because I didn't want to go by myself. She was like, oh yeah, sure. So we flew over to Toronto, and I landed and met up with the team, and they were like, okay, we're going straight to an investor pitch. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm not familiar with the company. Like, this is a little bit intimidating. So we show up, and there's like the boardroom full of, our investment bankers, lawyers, the team, the board of directors. And I walk in, sit down beside Jordan, our CEO, and Jordan just kicked off the meeting, and he just nailed it. And everyone at that table was sitting there in awe almost of what he was saying, and just really excited to hear what his plans were and how passionate he was. And that was really the moment for me as well, that I realized, okay, this is legitimate, and this is really exciting, and I'm really, really happy to be on board and a part of this team. So that was really kind of the turning point for me, where I realized that like this here could change my life, just getting to be a part of this team, and it has a huge impact on my career, and it's just very exciting, and the team is amazing. I couldn't ask for a better team to work with.
Oh my gosh, your team can't ask for a better CFO to have, I'm sure.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We had the opportunity to get to meet some of your team members in New York City at NFT.com for the Genesis Keyholder meetup for NFT.com. And I will say, from an investor standpoint, from going from just, seeing him through videos and reading these things, that it translates, that passion, that drive, that vision. You can really, it's not just it's not just infectious energy. You can really tell your team truly has that vision to get together, and really what an exciting thing to be a part of, and to have him and the rest of you all come together and really support not just your team, and you're supporting the community on the other side of it too. Well done for you guys. That's awesome. What a great way to be part of something new. Like, this is early days to be establishing yourself in this industry. I mean, geez, what amazing times. So can you tell, I know like I'm kind of pivoting here pretty quickly, but I wanted to actually get some, like, talk to you more about setting up an internal control environment. Can you maybe walk us through something that, can you maybe walk us through what that is, and where would you start with that?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question, and I'll try to keep it as high level and easy to follow.
No, break it down like I'm 5. Talk to me like I'm 5. Yeah, I'm open to that.
It's not really something that people are super interested in sometimes, but with a startup company, especially in the crypto space, so up in Canada, it's similar to the US. There's a very strict regulatory framework, and so as a publicly traded company, we are held to a certain standard by the different organizations in Canada, similar to like the PCAOB. Up in Canada, it's called CPAB. And they really regulate the auditors, and the auditors audit the financial statements. And there's a lot of, with crypto, it's an emerging industry. So there's a lot to be learned about it still. And regulations and accounting treatment, they're constantly changing. But the biggest thing with crypto right now, especially with a startup, that we needed to consider was, first of all, the existence of the cryptocurrency that we may hold, and our rights or ownership of that digital asset. So when we are setting up our company in order to prepare, you have to really know what you're doing in advance, because it's not something that you can go and do all like these crypto type transactions and then come back and fix and implement controls after the fact. It really has to be done at the very beginning. So for us, luckily, in the first year, we have not had many crypto transactions. Really, the first big transaction was our Genesis key sale for the NFT.com. So in preparation for that, we formed a Treasury team. So we have a team that's based of about 5 or 6 individuals. And so we really mapped out what it would look like, all the different organizations that we would need to onboard, set up in advance. And so there's certain in organizations that are better to use from an auditor's point of view because they have specific reports that they prepare and are audited every year. So that means like these reports essentially say that like, okay, this company's internal control process and policies, they are implemented and they work effectively. So you can rely on them. By just using them, you can know that what they're doing is what they're saying that they're doing, essentially. So it's really important to identify the organizations, for example, like a custodian that we would use that has these reports, because a custodian isn't necessarily held to the same standards as like a federally regulated bank. So with like the audit side, you could rely, like if a federally regulated bank says, here's a bank confirmation, Immutable Holdings has this much money in it, someone can rely on that because they know that that bank has all the processes and procedures in place to make sure that that number is correct and it's not incorrect, or it hasn't, no one's been, bribed to say something different. So with the crypto side and just the regulatory nature of it, it's a little bit harder sometimes to rely. So it's really important to identify the organizations that are going to be able to produce reports that all the regulators can rely on. So that was really our first step. And we had to get onboarded with all of them. And then just really setting up the process. So for example, I don't want to get too into our internal controls because it's also a little bit of a security issue as well. But
don't spill any beans here.
Yeah, for example, like one thing is like it's important to have if you're going to be moving funds or have the ability to move funds, like me as a CFO, I shouldn't be the only person that's capable of doing that, because it opens up the opportunity, for example, for someone to say, okay, I'm going to pay myself $1 million and no one else is there. So one internal control that's really important is having a number of individuals who are authorized to sign on a transaction. So the more individuals you have, obviously, the more secure it's going to be. But then also you can't have too many, because then everyone has to be available all at the same time. And that is a bit of a logistical nightmare trying to do that every single time. So it's really about finding what is most secure for us as a company, as well as making sure that it makes sense from a logistics point of view. So that would be like our first kind of big internal control process that we did implement. But right now we're being quite conservative. We hold most of our proceeds from that Genesis key sale were converted into USD, so they're held in our as fiat in our bank accounts. So we got really lucky. We actually converted most of our ETH over right at the very peak, right before everything started kind of going downhill. So that was due to the amazing efforts of our Treasury team there, that were quick thinking and we got the job done.
Well, and to the team and to those who had the forethought and the quick reactivity to do so, well done. That is like, that gets me excited to get on here and talk about NFT.com and talk about Immutable Holdings, to know that there's teammates and members on the other side of that are, you guys are not sleeping. You're out there actively doing the work. And I am excited for that, because that shows me that what I'm researching and the work that we're doing here at Vibra is true and sustainable. So thank you guys for putting good stuff out there and having our backs. The way that they ran the key sale and the communication that took place during all of that, so seldom do people realize that if you have never been in a position of working on the back end of a business, you don't, like, on the other side of it, it's easy to be like, when moon, sir, when key, sir. It's easy to do that on the other side, but what you don't realize is that mad scramble that's taking on the back end. And then there's always somebody to be like, oh shoot, we have to communicate with the outside world and social media, and you guys they just did such a bang up job keeping everybody up to date. So thank you guys for that too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The team did an amazing job, and it's difficult. It's always easy for outsiders to think, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that. But like, these things were planned out for months. We spent months planning, preparing, trying testing, trying to make sure we had covered all the scenarios. And when things happen in real life, obviously there's going to be, things that maybe you didn't anticipate or that you can't control. Like, for example, with what's happened in the market the last month, like who would have known that was about to happen, like right before. I mean, obviously there's some indicators leading up right beforehand, but when we're planning months in advance, you don't necessarily plan for that to happen. So I think the team did a really good job of being able to pivot and also try to be as transparent as possible, which is difficult, especially when we're a public company, because we have to be very careful what information we put out there. There's all kinds of steps and regulatory and legal, hurdles that we have to overcome. So we genuinely want to make sure that what we're putting out there is helpful to all of the parties interested, or the Genesis key holders, but also our shareholders as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like quickly, if you would like to, can you kind of just point out or identify some common areas where companies in Canada are meeting regulatory pushback? Just like, from a business standpoint, so they know.
Yeah, so I can speak a little bit more to the accounting auditing side.
Yeah.
It really goes back to that conversation that we had earlier here about internal control processes. It's when you have a company that's either public or you would like to go public, it's becoming more difficult to find auditors who have the expertise and capabilities to audit a crypto company. So I think that's putting a little bit of pressure on the space here, because there are public companies that exist, and the onboarding or KYC process in the auditors getting to know the client to see if this is something they're willing to take on, because on the auditor side, they have risk as well, because if something goes wrong, they will also be held accountable, and you can't always anticipate what's going to happen before you accept a client and really dive into the nitty gritty of things. So the biggest pushback is those internal controls. Have you set your company up properly in order to be auditable? The ownership, like how do you prove that ownership? And that's still a question that is difficult to really have a full answer of. So these companies, these audit firms are coming up with procedures and processes in order to get as much comfort as they can over things. But obviously, similar to the US, there's also, regulatory pushback from other bodies as well. So it's a difficult space to be in. It's exciting, and I think that there are solutions that people will come to, but really the strong companies are the ones that are going to be quite successful. So that's really our goal, is setting things up, being proactive, anticipating what our needs are going to be in the future, and using the right advisors to get us to where we need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see that coming through the pipeline with your team for sure. I'm excited. I'm so bullish. I'm excited to see what the future holds. So for those that are coming in and they're brand new to this space, and it kind of seems overwhelming, and there's like a couple pitfalls, there's hurdles, like what is your best friendly onboarding advice for someone new coming in?
Coming into the space as a company or as an individual?
Let's go with the company aspect.
Yeah, as a company, I think experience is absolutely necessary. You have to have individuals who are well versed in the space, who understand it, whether that's from the CEO point of view, the engineering point of view, and also the accounting point of view. Because, like I mentioned, you have to be proactive in knowing what you need to do in advance in order to be successful. And if you don't have experience in this space, it's not really, certainly like the company needs to make sure they're set up properly. You have the right legal counsel, the right auditors, you have the right people internally. Certainly as an individual coming into the space, it's a little bit easier because you can come into a team that might already have that knowledge and learn as you go. But if no one on the team has that knowledge, I would say it would be nearly impossible to get into this space and be successful.
Thank you. Absolutely. You just laid out so many important points for the investment standpoint too. These are things as investors that you need to be looking into in this team. Are they docs? And coming into the space as an individual, those are things that you want to be looking at while you're doing, it's easy to say, do your own research, but what does it really mean? What research? Where do I start? So thank you for breaking that down for individuals and for companies looking to get into the space. There's so much room for growth. Man, does it get you excited to get on? Are you have you found your passion in your career, working with I can't even talk.
Yeah.
I get so
No, absolutely. It's a great question. It's kind of funny because when I first got into, learning about blockchain and crypto in 2018, I just felt like this is the space I really wanted to be in. And at the time when I left my firm that I was at the time, I went into the industry side. So rather than working on the public practice side where you're auditing the companies, you actually work for the companies. And so there wasn't a lot of opportunity in Vancouver at the time because it was still very much an emerging space. There were small companies, but nothing that really had a lot of traction at the time that had interested me. So I went into a completely different industry for a while. And while I was there, I actually just felt I just missed being in the space. I don't know, the excitement of, I'm kind of a nerd. I love learning. I love knowledge. And the great thing about blockchain and crypto, and it's constantly changing. There's so much to learn and so much to just absorb and think about. And I just felt like that was missing a little bit. And so I actually did a little bit of consulting on the side when I was at my previous job in the crypto space, just so I could stay in it. And I always just felt like something was a little bit missing. And then now that it sounds so silly to say, but being a part of this company has really just, it's filled that void a little bit. And I feel like this is where I want to be. This is what I want to be involved in. And I'm super excited about it. And I'm happy to be back in the industry fully. So.
Well, I'm so glad that we have been able to connect through our work in this industry. It is my goal and true intention and hope to bring more women like you onto the stream. I want to hear about what you're doing because being a CFO it's not my strength. And I want to hear more about your strengths and what you do. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and expertise to us. Thank you for using that key to unlock the door, cracking it open and giving us a peek into the environment in which you're working with and giving us some awesome tips and questions and things to ask. Your time is so valuable. I can't hog it up for the rest of the afternoon, although I'd love to keep you. Thank you so much for everything. Is there anything that you'd like to say for your team while you're here?
No, I mean, I think that what you're saying, it's really important. Getting more women involved in this space is really critical. It can seem a little bit intimidating. And again, it's for example, I know a bunch of very intelligent women accountants, and I was trying to teach them how to, set up a wallet and buy Ethereum, and because they were really interested in the Genesis key sale. And it was actually kind of complicated. It was more complicated than it needed to be. And I really realized this is a really big hurdle. There's a lot of people who could get into this space, but just getting over that hurdle, learning, diving in and not being intimidating, I think that's really important. And the great thing about my team is, I mean, they're absolutely amazing. They support me. They give me so much support, and they're my biggest cheerleaders. And that's just so amazing because it could be really intimidating coming into a male dominated company in a male dominated space. Being in a leadership role like I am. And they really just make that so much easier by giving me, the support and just encouragement and just along the way. Like everyone's there for if you need something, if it's just I'm at a loss for words. That's how great they are. So it definitely does exist out there, and I think it's really important that for women, like, don't be afraid to take a chance or take a risk. I found that in my career, at least, like those times that I do jump into something, even though I'm a bit hesitant to do so, at the end of the day, those are the opportunities and that really pay off. Like, getting on that flight to Toronto, like, it's a little bit nerve wracking. Like, I just kind of didn't think, I just did it, took that risk, but it paid off in a big way. So don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and challenge yourself.
Thank you. What a beautiful message. Absolutely. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. A little bit of change. Like, that was a lot of change. Getting on a plane and going to meet strangers. And it was like, that's some brave stuff. That is amazing. And that's exactly why I thank you so much for being on here and representing today and coming out and saying, like, here I am. I'm in a position of power and I'm working with a team that is empowering me. We're entering into this new era where not only are men empowering women, but women more, and I believe more, most importantly, women are starting to empower other women. And really, I've never encountered anything like that until I got into the crypto financial space, when we see, strength in numbers. And now I'm sure even going into meetings now, seeing other female energies around you, it's getting really exciting. And that ebb and flow that is, wow. Thanks for bringing us along for the ride. Like, this is exciting news. I'm excited to see where everything is going, and I can't wait to see the solutions with projects that are coming up, like Pulse Chain, where we're going to get a copy of our ERC20. So I can't wait to see the solutions that the team comes up with for interoperability with those things, like what's going to happen. So those are like little teasers and things that are to come. But this is the stuff that I know that you guys are working on behind the scenes. And to get that and share that out with everybody, like, this may be a bear market that we're in, but nobody with longevity and sustainability and passion and drive is looking at those charts feeling sorry for themselves. We're getting up daily, putting our shoes on, running to work because we're excited to be here, innovating, cultivating. Yes. So thank you so much, Melyssa, and your team, for all that you do. And thank you for coming here and encouraging more women to come on and talk. Ladies, if you're out there and you're feeling shy and you need a platform, please come and let's chat some crypto. I want to hear more. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to, speaking and meeting up in the future.
Yes, absolutely. I look forward to it too. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in this afternoon for a very special edition with Melyssa, the CFO of Immutable Holdings. We are so blessed to have her here with us today. Thank you to the NFT.com team too. You guys rocked that out with the Genesis Keyholder meeting to meet and greet with the community and get to meet others. What a special space. Friday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be chatting live with the ladies about everything that's coming up with the bear market, billionaire mindset mentality, all those fun things and more. So thank you for coming on, Melyssa, today, and goodbye, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Bye.
Oops. I almost ended the studio instead of ending the broadcast.